Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Lousy Gamer. This is kind of a continuation from the video that was the previous video actually. So this is the actual interview of Skunk Ape from Region 31. So as I mentioned in my previous video, I'm really happy to interview a fellow YouTuber, and if you have not checked out his channel, please do so. I've left the channel link in the description. And this interview was a great revelation for me in terms of learning new things and also opinion about other players, right? So at the end of the day, if you put all the personal things about a person aside and then just give a chance to listen to each other, I think that's all I'm trying to do here. So at the end of the day, it's all about the community of players and how do we get to know about each other, about the gameplay, etc. So he has done a great job in this interview. I'm pretty sure you would love it. As opposed to other interviews, I didn't split that into two. This interview because it was kind of short and sweet, and you will get a lot out of this. So you get to watch the full interview now, and I hope you will like it. And if you have any questions, please do leave it in the comment section, so we'll try to answer. And if you like this video, as usual, leave your thumbs up, and if you really hate it, thumbs down. So I wanted to see how many dislikes I have for my video. So thanks a lot for your support, and enjoy the interview now. Thank you very much for making time for this interview. I really thank you from bottom of my heart for doing this. It's been again. I think it's for me. It's a big pleasure because I'm also interviewing another YouTuber, and you have been my great inspiration as well for my videos. When I started watching your videos, it was amazing the way the content was presented and so on. So, and thank you again for joining us.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thank you very much for having me. You know, I've enjoyed all the interviews you've done so far. It's nice to hear from different people and their perspectives.
So how long have you been playing this game?
In about 3 years now.
So that's pretty much, I think, from the time the game was launched. And from the region wise, I think probably you started early in some older regions. We would like to hear from where you are, where you were from, and just before the merge, where were you, and about the alliances you've been with.
Well, I started in 16, so 16, it was a fairly new region at that time. And when I first got in there, you know, most of the alliances are invitation only, and, you know, I decided to find an alliance, and, you know, being little, I found the alliance noobs, and I joined them, but was only with them for a few weeks before I moved to a different alliance that had more activity.
And I'm really interested to know about the history behind your name. It's funny. It's unique. Just want to know what's the history behind this name.
Well, I came up with the name Skunk Ape because you know, I've always been a fan of, you know, Bigfoot and Sasquatch and stuff. You know, I'm not the type to run around in the woods and stuff trying to, you know, find these things, and, you know, so but I've pretty much always just enjoyed, you know, the legend of them, and you know, Skunk Ape is another name for a Bigfoot. It's typically supposed to be in Florida. I'm not from Florida, but I did like the name Skunk Ape. I thought it was kind of unique, and nobody else had it, so I went with that.
That's awesome. So finally, everybody would know why that name. So, so the political side. This three regions, it's all filled with politics of UNRW against SLC kind of thing. And I know in 31 there is some third front forming, and then people are fighting against each other. So do you belong to any of these camps, and what is your take on these wars from personally? Yeah.
No, you know, don't belong to any particular camp, you know, at this time, and as far as our Region 31 goes, we have a lot of allies that are, you know, towards the top of the boards there, and a few enemies mixed in there. But it seems to me the region is pretty much, you know, people have picked their allies and their teams, and it's not affiliated with what's going on in the other region, people out there, smashing and burning, doing whatever they want, when they play and their type of play style.
That's kind of clear. I think most of the interviews I've made, they're not getting involved in RWUN or SLC wars, but they do have some of the affiliations. So I would safely say that you're kind of neutral at this point of time, but things might change in the future depending on how the game evolves, right?
Yeah, and the fact that I've been waiting to see as these different coalitions have moved into their own regions, how long before they run out of people to hit and they decide to move into another one and find some new enemies, because that's essentially what keeps the game interesting. So if you start smashing everybody and you got nothing but dead cities to farm, they're going to move.
Exactly. And the players, people, most respected players in the game that you think, it could be in terms of attack, or it could be the most knowledgeable player, irrespective of their size?
Yeah, the type of players that I really respect and like are the players that really go out there and play the game. And it doesn't matter their size, it's just the guys that and gals that will go out there and play, that will hit and compete in the events and, are really active. It definitely is fun to watch some of the big players like Storm and Snake's another one. I do enjoy watching Prophet, run around and do his thing too. But I tend to respect more the smaller guys that are just kind of, hanging in there, but they get right in the middle of it. They don't worry much about getting burned and everything else. Those are the ones that I really enjoy, and respect a lot.
And you as a player, what was your peak power and what is your power now, if you want to share?
My peak power, I think at one time I got up to 1.8 bill. Mm-hmm. But a billion of that was just in DNA that I'd been collecting as, people were hitting me, or yep, if I was hitting with advance. And then eventually, I shed that. And but right now I'm sitting at about 550. A majority of that is, core power. I tend to stay hospital beds in both cities. My main city, I can hold 1.4 million in hospital beds, and really the only thing I keep in that city is T4 advance. I don't want to waste hospital bed space, T1s or regular troops. So if you're going to come at it, it'll cost you, and I'll just heal them up, no problem.
Talking about troops, what's your favorite troop type and why?
My favorite troop, and I'm sure most people are going to feel the same way, is the Panzer unit. It really packs a punch, and whether you're hitting a large scale attack with all Panzers, or even just a few Panzers mixed in.
Okay, the next question is going to be interesting. The reason why I said it's interesting is, of all the conversations I had with you online, I definitely realized that the knowledge you have on infected leaders is, I think, one of the top-notch players. They have full understanding of how leaders work, and also interested to try new leaders, and I definitely saw that in you. So the question here is, again, the favorite leaders and stuff, but in a different spin to it. Infected leaders that you think are good but are really underrated. People don't use them a lot. People just ignore them.
Okay, the infected leader, I think that's one of my more favorite part of the games, because there's so many of them, and there's so many different combinations you can put together. And over time, playing and look at some of these leaders as you upgrade them, I found that there are a few that, I like to consider like a hidden gem, that people don't typically play with. You find a lot of people, they all kind of go for the same leaders, and you end up hitting cities and they have the same thing that you're hitting with and all. But I do like to try different ones. to say by far my favorite leader, and only because it's been the most fun to use, is the Frankenmurder, the one that I actually did a video on. And I mean, that one's just so good, as you can see if you watch the video, that once you build up a certain amount of the infected from hitting people and killing their troops, then you just turn around and hit with only the infected that you got from them, and I don't have to spend any res, any timers training troops, because they've done it for me, and I'm just killing them with their dead troops. And to me, that is just the funniest thing, and has been the most fun as far as a leader.
That's an interesting video. I think that's when I saw, and I messaged you, I think, at the same time. That's really amazing to see. And I did get my Frankenmurder right after watching a video, because it was really interesting. I want to really own one. So, and I hope all the viewers would get that. And I'm leaving a link to your video on that. So hope the viewers can see and the real power of that leader. You're right, it's kind of underrated. Nobody wants to use it, but in fact, you're getting free troops for life.
Right, yeah, you're getting free troops for life, and you're killing your enemies at the same time with their own troops. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that.
Exactly. And the other way around, so what are the leaders that you think people are worshipping a lot, but they are total crap?
You know, there's the only one that really comes to mind was a recent one, and you know, I don't know that people are worshiping it because it was so new, but I was really disappointed in the Lady Liberty leader, because the one that they had put out before for around the Father's Day, the Daddy's Daughter, I mean, that one was incredible. There were a lot of things to it that it's got the training speeds and its attack of 600% without having to stack a couple. So when they announced that they were coming out with the 4th of July, I thought, oh man, this will be the defensive side to that. But you know, as it turns out, when you look at it, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, actually, I fall for that trap too. I really wanted to get the Father's Day stuff, because that had a massive troop attack ratio, but that's really hard to get, because I think it was only top 100, and that was a power event, and the Liberty. But you're right. I think that's. I don't want to use airport speed or airport limit, so.
Yeah, well, I don't know how any of the other regions were, but I know in 31, when it came to the Father's Day leader, the Daddy's Daughter, that particular leader there, the bottom spot, the last one to grab that leader, was over 400 in power.
Wow.
And I don't know what the other reads were, but I mean, that was a tough one to get. But I think the Empire Z community, they recognized the value in the leaders that they were offering, because when it came to Lady Liberty, you know, to get in the top 100, you only had to break. It was a little over 100 million power.
And I think most of the farmers took it. To be honest, I think I'm one of the farmer, and I was thinking maybe I should use this for farming. But you're right. They created a false hope for a lot of people. Once you own it, you feel you definitely have a remorse.
Well, you know, here's the thing, and I think Ember, you know, I think they realized it too, because I don't know if you've looked at the events coming for this weekend, but they're offering it in the first 8-hour advanced, you know, war event. So that Lady Liberty's available again.
Good. So I think that's a great conversation about the leaders. And again, do you think any of the leaders that's worth that you want to mention, apart from the funny ones and the the overrated ones? But do you have any other leaders that you want to have a quick chat about?
Are going to be Vile Banker is nice for training a large amount, and the other one I like is Deadeyes. What I like about the Deadeyes though is the trade speed one way. On the return trip, it was just as slow as it would if you didn't have the leader. I wish Ember would fix that. I don't know.
Oh, now the question about the game itself, the future of this game. What's your take? Do you think players still have a chance to play this for long? And how do you think the player can actually change the game?
Yeah, no, I think it does still have a lengthy future. To me, it's pretty obvious you see some of the power gains in the events that obviously require some pack purchases and the size of some of these players. So, it'll continue as long as, people continue to buy packs and things like that. But in order for that to also continue, Ember has to offer some pretty good value for the purchase of those packs. Personally, when it comes to some of the packs I've seen lately, Ember's still offering the Shadow Stalker. I mean, a player that goes out and hits a lot of infected cities. I have grabbed, multiples of leaders that they're still selling, and it just doesn't really make sense to me. They're kind of obsolete, at this point, because they've come out with stuff. Players keep spending, and Ember keeps it interesting. It'll keep going. More things that I'd like to see them do. I'd like them to refresh the Z store more often, than once a week. And who's really buying that they put in there, especially some of the leaders they're putting in there? Just go hit an infected city, get one.
So I think I also asked people about the what Ember should be stopping and then what they should start. So you kind of covered a little bit, but is there anything else that you really think Ember should stop right away, and then they should start something new that would make things interesting for people?
I think the one thing that they should stop for is constantly running the same events on the weekends. They're good events individually. They're interesting, but it's been nothing but a constant repeat of the same for months and months and months. So I'd like to see them come up with something different than, I understand that they want people to train so they'll make money and keep going, but it would be nice if they would come up with something different. I'm not sure exactly what that would be.
That makes sense. I think I kind of hear you. So mostly it should be changing the event and also introducing some new events. In fact, I kind of liked, if you remember, it was about a year and a half ago, where they had events to hold the city tiles, and then you got to fight for it. I kind of liked it. You saw people running around trying to take the cities, and that's the reason why we had tiles. Now we have the raids, but if you take the raids part away, I think occupying tiles would be a great event. So we are almost at the end of this conversation. Before we really conclude, do you have any final thoughts?
The only final thought I would have is for all the Z players out there is to enjoy the game. Don't take anything personally. Quit hating on the big guys for spending the money they do, because if they didn't, we wouldn't have the game to play. Ember's not doing it free for your entertainment. And likewise, on the other end of the spectrum, if you're a player that doesn't spend a lot of money, you still have a way that you can build your city and set yourself up that you can still have fun and not get demolished. You may get zeroed every single weekend, but hey, heal your troops during the week and, let the other players kill their troops, giving you tier prize awards, and slowly build up.
Yeah, that's a great advice. I think a lot of people, you're right, they either hate the bigger players for spending, or they kind of give up because they get constantly hit. This advice is really good for them, so they can still keep playing the game. That's really a fantastic interview that I've had so far. I've learned as well in the process, and as I told all other people that I interviewed, I would also like to do this again with the same set of people, because this game changes constantly. Like 2 months down the line, 3 months down the line, totally different landscape. And I would like to hear with all the players that I spoke to again, and it was really a great interview. And thanks a lot again for your time, and I wish you all the best for your game and also your real life. All the best, and we'll keep in touch.
Same to you, and I appreciate your time and being willing to interview. I appreciate it.
So, did you enjoy the interview? I did, and I'm pretty sure you did too. So, if you have any questions based on the interview, please do let us know, and stay tuned for the challenge videos. I'm not doing the Friday Thoughts this week. I'm really sorry. I'm kind of busy. But I'm working on the content for the one-on-one challenge that is due next week. And I'm also doing a lot of other interviews of some interesting players. So there are 4 more interviews that's in the pipeline, and there's one-on-one challenge and a lot more Friday thoughts. And I hope you like this video, and if you like, please leave a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do subscribe to my videos, and please let your Alliance members know that this channel exists, and please send me all the subscriptions, please. Thank you, and you have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.